Our customers are using our solutions together all the time. They use the Meta Pixel as part of the deployments of their site experiences. And over the last year or so, we've started to see a lot of intensity and adoption of the Conversions API.
You're listening to the Meta Business Innovation and Technology Podcast, conversations with industry leaders on new trends and products that can grow your business. Today's episode is a pre-recorded live conversation from the Adobe Summit. This panel includes Tarcisio Ribeiro, Director of Business Development and Partnership Management here at Meta, Jennifer Downs, the CMO of Global E-commerce at Lenovo, and Clive Henry, Director of ISV Partnerships at Adobe. Together, they discuss how to unlock your marketing data's full potential.
Hello, it's great to have you here today. There are a lot of interesting sessions on this summit, which is, by the way, very well organized, but I will try to make this one worth your while. A little bit of a challenge, but we will try. I am Tarcisio Ribeiro. I manage advertising partnerships in the Americas for Meta. My organization is responsible for building with partners like Adobe to create value for our mutual customers. We're going to talk about how the advertising industry is evolving. There are many factors at play at that, but it always starts with people privacy expectations and how these expectations impact our ability to use data to fuel advertising. Business needs to deliver relevant user experiences, improve performance, all while respect people's privacies. Conversions API should actually implement a solution called Conversions API tied with the Adobe real-time CDP to achieve that. I'm joined today by two people that I admire and respect a lot, and I will let them introduce themselves.
So I'm Jen Downs. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Lenovo's global e-commerce business, and primarily my team is responsible for driving digital marketing strategy, and part of that is looking for innovations like the one we're going to talk about today, and really helping our geography teams figure out how do they do a better job of reaching and engaging audiences.
All right. Looking forward to today's conversation, Jen. My name is Clive Henry. I'm a Director of ISV Partnerships at Adobe. On top of managing our global relationship with Meta, I also helped onboard and operationalize ISVs into our partner program at Adobe.
Thank you both. It is great to be here with you. So I'll talk to Clive about how Adobe and Meta have come together, and then Jennifer is going to explain to us how Lenovo used our Conversions API and was one of the first users to try that to improve the company performance. But before we get into these conversations, I want to talk about two questions that I'm very often asked. The first one is, how is the advertising industry evolving? And what kind of conversations I've been having with customers and clients about this evolution? Times are feeling very uncertain for advertisers. We have a recession, we are in the middle of an economic slowdown, and we're still living through the backlash of the pandemic. Compounding this, there is the challenge of changing rules and regulations that are impacting the way we can run advertising. People expect business to deliver relevant experiences and improve performance while respecting people's privacy. Policies are bringing people more options to limit share of data. You probably heard of privacy data laws like GDPR, CPA, and LGPD. These laws are the reason why you see pop-ups asking whether you want to accept cookies in our websites. Second, consumer behavior is changing. People are actually limiting our ability to place advertising. They are installing plugins and browser extensions that block advertising on certain websites. And finally, we have platforms like Apple that are limiting the amount of information that they share with business. The impact of these shifts. Digital advertising needs to evolve to deliver the same kind of advertising, but using less and different kinds of data. We are working with Meta business partners like Adobe and building and scale solutions like the Conversions API to enable business to achieve these goals. One key solution that we have launched with Adobe and we announced today is the Conversions API. Conversions API is a Meta business solutions that creates a direct connection between your marketing data and Meta. This helps you use your own data to create audiences and deliver advertising and improve performance on the platform, the reduce cost per action, all while respect people's privacy. And since Conversions API is less dependent on browser technology, you can enhance the usage of your data today, but make it resilient for the future. You can continue relying on sending this data to Meta in a private, safe environment. Specifically, Conversions API help you increase ad performance and increase reliability and extend the usage of data to Meta. improve your measurement capabilities, and execute a privacy-preserving data strategy that is going to be scalable for the future. Advertisers that have Pixel installed and then installed Conversions API have seen an improvement on performance of around 13%. We are excited for this partnership with Adobe. I want to now ask a few questions to Clive. So first, I want to bring into the conversation to talk more about the genesis of our partnership and how we did an integration between Meta and Adobe with the Conversions API.
Absolutely, Tarcisio. So one of the things I like to remind people is that Adobe and Meta have a long-standing partnership. We've worked together across our Creative Cloud and Experience Cloud for years. Our customers are using our solutions together all the time. They use the Meta Pixel as part of the deployments of their site experiences. And over the last year or so, we've started to see a lot of intensity and adoption of the Conversions API. One of the things we saw with the Conversions API is that our customers were implementing, integrating this offering, leveraging Adobe's solutions, real-time CDP, and the Meta Conversions API with custom bills. We listened, we heard our customers. We knew that there was an opportunity here to make that process more efficient. So we developed a solution for quick and easy setup of exchanging data from Adobe solutions, your Adobe-powered experiences, into the Meta Conversions API to execute personalized advertising on their platform.
This sounds great. You talked about simplicity. I think everybody in this room would love to see an example of how this works.
This example that you see here will be available for all Adobe Real-Time CDP customers. So that's Real-Time CDP Ultimate, Real-Time CDP Prime, and Real-Time CDP Connections later next week. So what you're seeing here is customer can go to the Adobe product, to the data collection page tab, and begin the process of setting up data collection server to server on their website by generating an embed code, or server to server via their mobile application by using the Adobe tool to generate a Meta Conversion API compliant embed code. You hit that button, get started, and then it's 3 easy steps. I want to share this with everyone if there's one thing that you take away from this session today. What we were seeing was a process that was 170 steps or more, hours for a group of developers to coordinate. And we've consolidated that process down to 3 easy steps for non-developers. Within the interface, you can validate that the integration is working, that you're exchanging data with the Meta Conversions API. We test by sending 1 parameter when you originally set up the integration. But once you've set up that 1 parameter, you've tested the integration, then you're taking advantage of the Adobe Real-Time CDP control rules, right? And this is where you can implement the compliance necessary geographically and share the events or the parameters that you feel are necessary for the campaigns you're planning. This has all been built into an Adobe solution available for our customers starting next week.
Tell me, once this is installed, what advertisers can expect from the tool and how they should run their campaigns differently from what they do today?
I think one of the big differences is this is an Adobe product, which means that it takes advantage of the control tools that I just talked about within the interface. It also forwards the events to the AEP edge, right, where it can scale, and our security and scalability as a large software delivery entity can be taken advantage of. For our customers that may have been building these custom integrations with the Conversions API, that would have been something that they would have to build into their solution. Adobe has that built in.
Awesome. So both companies are committed to provide customer-centric user experiences. How customers are responding to some of these tools?
I think the first thing that we're hearing is that we're saving our customers time, right? To build these solutions, to make them available for their marketing teams, used to be quite a heavy lift. And with that time, what they're doing is they're shifting the limited bandwidth that they have into content, developing new content, building new content strategies, really trying to have authentic engagement with that end consumer and being considerate of where that end consumer is across the customer journey.
Great. I'm a big fan of visualizing how solutions work, right? It goes beyond just seeing. But we created the solution together,
Absolutely.
right? And we obviously, nobody has ugly kids. So it is great to have Jennifer here at this stage with us. So we have a testimony of somebody who is a user of the solution to tell us how his works. How are you doing, Jennifer?
I'm happy to be here, by the way, so thank you for having me.
Oh, we are delighted to have you here. We need a witness, a testimony, a real testimony that the solution works. So I heard that at Lenovo, there's something that says in your employee, and I will read here to make sure that I get it right. Your badges, every employee at Lenovo has the same written on their badges. We focus on the customer in everything we do, right? What customer problem are you trying to solve when you integrated Meta Conversions API? And how did the integration support Lenovo's strategy to achieve that with your clients?
Yeah, so it's important to know that, and you're right about the statement on the badge, the customer is at the center of everything we do. And this is a philosophy that we believe in, we've been espousing for years. And so we're always looking for opportunities to be able to truly deliver that. And it's a journey, right? I mean, all of us can say this, and I think we're all probably on the same journey, but the reality is it's not something that's going to happen overnight. And so solutions like this are really a part of that pathing. So customer centricity is truly foundational to Lenovo's strategy. Our marketing has been on a journey to transform, how we engage with customers in their journey and the needs that we're giving them, right? The needs that we're sufficing for them through content, through experiences. We are also, when we talk about that experience, it's really holistic. So we don't look at point in time. And being an e-commerce business, this is something that I think we had to come to terms with, is we tended to focus on the bottom of the funnel because we're measured on last click attribution, we're looking for the quick sale. The reality is that's not reflective of the customer journey. And so what's important to understand is what are the steps that the user is going through in that decision journey. And it's not a linear process. We all learned that, right? So we're no longer talking about a straight line, but it's really kind of a myriad of things that are happening at different times. And so understanding what those steps are and what needs do they have at each of those steps? What content or information are they looking for? And where are they looking for that information? So how do we do a better job of leaning in? But the only way this comes to any sort of realization is if you have a data-driven strategy. You really need to be able to take the data you have, you need to aggregate it, figure out what story it tells you. And we've got a lot of data, and I'm sure a lot of you could nod your heads with me on this one and say, you've got a ton of data, what do you do with it, right? And the reality is that marketers are very busy, we're doing a lot of stuff, so it's hard to figure out how you take all this stuff in. So, we know we need to do this. We know we need all these different data points to give the users the experience that they deserve and the experience that they're expecting. But the big question is, and what we're challenged with is, how do you scale it, right? So personalization across all these different touch points, whether it's your CRM, your website, or your paid media, really has to be consistent to give them that holistic and cohesive customer experience. But personalization at scale is really difficult, right? And so having technology that allows us to be able to serve the customer, give them the right information at the right time is super critical, and we're always on the quest for that. I think the other point, and you talked about this, Tarcisio, that we have to consider in this whole context is the changing landscape with data privacy, right? And how complex that is and how difficult it is for us as marketers to stay on top of that. And so, we're constantly having to balance the need for all of this data to give them the right experience with also balancing the need to reduce our reliance on cookies. And so given all of these goals that we have, this is where we thought Meta's Conversions API was really a unique offering for us and one that met a lot of those needs that we have.
That's great. You mentioned things like bringing personalization at scale, right? Meet the customer where he is, when he needs the product that you're trying to sell. What the three of us know is that we have multiple people in our marketing departments thinking about how to implement these strategies. How did you guys at Adobe execute this sort of integration at scale?
Yeah, it's a good question. I like this one because it really starts to get to the heart of why I like this solution. And it's truly a combined solution, right? The CDP plays a critical role here as well in terms of bringing all these data points together and creating the segments for us. But I think it's important to have the context that, marketers have a very difficult job today. And it's becoming increasingly difficult. We have to wear lots of hats. We have to be able to think strategically and create a strategy and a marketing strategy that aligns with the business goals. We have to be the financier and the negotiator. We have to be the insights person. We need to be able to understand data and figure out what story is this data telling us. And we also need to be able to understand the tech and evangelize the tech. Because a lot of times, at least my personal experience is the CFO who has to sign off on all this stuff doesn't always appreciate what marketing is doing and how it works and the importance of tech. And so that's a big part of the story of being able to demonstrate how this is going to add value to the business and really commercial value. It's not just about how do I make the lives of the employees easier, but also how do you demonstrate that value to the bottom line, because that's what your CFO is looking for. So, for us, it was looking at all of these considerations that we have to take into account, and that really weighs heavily in solutions that we look to bring on board. The other complexity that we have, and I think this is probably the case for also a lot of other organizations, is marketing is often the connector in your organization, right? They're working across a variety of functions that all have demands on you. And so it's just imagine the daily complexities that we're dealing with. Marry that with the need for speed, right? We all expect things to happen tomorrow or yesterday. We also see consumer behavior changing. We're seeing the market landscape changing and doing some really wonky things over the last few years. And we're seeing a lot of tech evolving. And so with that, having technology that's really going to help us and be easy to implement and also easy to use is really important. And you asked a little bit of like, how did we go about this? I think one of the things that was, I won't say unique to my team, but one of the things I love about our organization is, although we are a large company, we're also very entrepreneurial in spirit. And so we take a test and learn approach to a lot of what we do. And our goal is to be agile and as we bring new solutions to the organization. And so I think, the natural curiosity that we have as a team really makes that test and learn strategy a natural fit for us.
That's a great testimony. So I'm going to ask two very specific questions. One is how the Meta Conversions API with the Adobe Real-Time CDP helped improve performance to the company. And the second one is the real tricky one. I don't know if you can share with us, but you talk about metrics for your CFO. If your CFO is like my CFO, he wants to know numbers. Is there any chance you can share with us some numbers on the results that you have seen on this improvement on performance of our solutions?
I can share some percentages. I'll touch upon, like, in terms of performance, what has this done for us? Because I think it has a marketing effectiveness component, but also an operational efficiency component. And both for me and my role are super important. I think one is, this connection has strengthened our connection, our data connection between Meta, the platform, between the user, and also between Lenovo and Lenovo.com's data. Because of that direct connection, the data is more reliable that we're sending. It's also, we're sending larger volumes of conversion and non-conversion data. So we're really starting to understand more about that customer journey. So it plays very well into our test and learn strategy. It helps us optimize our marketing, but it also helps us with the efficiency component because of the reduction in the steps. And thank you very much, because that was super critical for us. That's one of the bigger complaints that our team has. In terms of the performance that we're seeing, like anything else, there's always hiccups and new things. So we ran into a little bit of a snag with some of the purchase conversions, but I would expect that with anything that we do. I think that's, whenever you're doing something new, the team has to learn how to do it. But one of the things we have seen already, and I'm super impressed with this, is we're seeing about a 5% reduction in our CPAs. We're also seeing about a 12% decline in bounce rates. So kind of check on both of those, right? Those are all really critical KPIs that I think a lot of us marketers are tasked with. So really pleased to see those results. The other thing I would add from an operational efficiency perspective is speaking to that workflow. It's really streamlined for us. And again, knowing that marketers are trying to do so many things and get it done faster, anything that makes it easy for us is a win-win.
This is great. I mean, these numbers are impressive.
They are indeed. We're really
a lot of
happy with them.
marketeers are trying to look for this kind of improvement, mainly on the current environments. What are some of the insights that you learned through this integration about the holistic impact between retail and online sales? And what about the audiences that you're reaching across Meta family of apps?
So we've got a much deeper understanding of our campaign performance across both conversion and non-conversion metrics. So we're certainly looking at purchases. We're also looking at people who have purchased a product through retail, but they register the product and we now capture that data. So that's a good example of the offline conversions data that we have. It starts to give you just a broader view, again, of that shopper journey. And instead of looking or making assumptions about steps, you really start to get a more accurate view. And I think that's the important thing here too. It removes a lot of the guesswork and assumptions that we as marketers have to make on a daily basis. And so that was super helpful for us and just the added efficiency in the process.
This is great. Earlier, Clive talked about the seamless solution. Any words of advice to other Adobe CDP customers in the room today? And Clive, I would love to hear from you on that also.
The biggest thing I tell my team is don't be afraid to try new things. I think that, with everything evolving so quickly, customer behaviors and their expectations, it's really important for marketers to be able to adapt to those demands. And I would strongly encourage us to embrace the evolution, or in some cases revolution, depending upon how you see it, because things are happening so rapidly in this space, and take every opportunity you can to learn. And don't be afraid to fail. I think these learning points really happen when you do fail, as long as you're not repeating the same failures over and over again. But I think it's really important for us to be willing to take those risks. And that's a culture that we've built in our organization, particularly within our e-commerce team, because I think it's important for us to even adopt things like this capability.
Great.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add to that, and that was great to hear, Jen, how you're leveraging our real-time CDP and the Meta Conversions API. The only thing I would add to that is that it feels like we're turning the corner. There is a lot of change happening in our industry, but with this partnership and the adoption by our customers, some of our best customers, some of our customers that are just testing real-time CDP as part of their personalization strategy, there's an opportunity here to grow and become more efficient, to be more focused. And we're all trying to be more focused. And I think that is exemplified in the story we heard today from Jen. There's an opportunity here with the investments that the Adobe product team has made to adopt this type of solution quickly and easily for your organizations. So come to the Meta booth at booth 521 on the pavilion floor, or come to Tarcisio or I or Jen after today's talk or during the week, and we can answer some questions. We've got a great video that is accessible via the team at the booth today, and you'll be able to dive deeper into the integration, the solution, and how it integrates with the ad platform for Meta.
Thank you, Clive. I think we're in a great place to finish. I really appreciate you both joining me. The big takeaway here is, with all the changes in the industry, it is not a matter of if you need to migrate your pixel to a conversions API. It's a matter of when. The changes and challenges that we are seeing in the industry are going to continue, but we, Meta, partnering with partners like Adobe and listening to clients like Lenovo, are going to continue improving our platform and systems to make sure you adapt to these changes and continue to deliver performance to your advertising. So it's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this special episode, and we'd like to thank our speakers, Tarcisio, Jennifer, and Clive, for sharing this valuable panel discussion with us. You can find links to any resources mentioned in today's show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Thank you for listening to the Meta Business Innovation and Technology Podcast.